which is I had a vision at the end of last year about this inner awareness mastery course. There's principles that guide us towards who am I? Why am I here? What will I do? And how will I do it? So over the course of these 12 months and lessons, we'll be addressing those questions. I also want to make sure that we understand that mastery doesn't mean mastered. It's a lifetime course. Within the course of a year, you'll have a blueprint that can be applied to your own life journey. But it is and always will be a lifetime course. A master is engaged in the art of mastery over a lifetime. You're not done, I've mastered everything, okay, I'm a master now. No, it's an infinite, eternal journey that you're taking. But now that you understand the principles, you can apply them to greater success. In a way, we'll be learning a blueprint that you can apply to your life within this course. And since it was so clearly revealed to me, I wanted to create a course that people could join over the 1 year period, and that the rest of you could also access at a higher level, which is the other reason that I want to be able to challenge you at a higher level. But remember, at the end of the day, there's no control here. There's no fear here. There's no judgment here. Also, this is a safe place. Everything that is in our group stays within our group. And so if you've known me personally, by meeting me and through our conversations, I think you'll find that I'm trustworthy, that I have a certain integrity and I follow my values, and I'm never here to impose my ideas and beliefs on others, but only awaken them to their own. And if you've been with me a longer period of time, then you definitely know that. So everything that we do here is not about me or even this course. It's really about you. And it's about how you can apply these principles and be the guide and master and involved in the art of mastery in your own life. So my intention for the Inner Awareness Mastery course is that I've gone on this journey of self-discovery, first of all, of course, all my life, but I would say intentionally for the past 40-some years. I've been a bit of a seeker, both within and outside myself. And somewhere along the way, I accessed a place inside my heart where pure awareness abides, and by which I find myself to be free as a human being. In this, I would call inner awareness. And I also have an outer awareness. I have a consciousness by which I've experienced this journey of life, and I continue to learn from that and to explore. Sometimes what we might call the unconscious. Because as we take this journey of life and experience the external stimulus, many of you will know that there's a lot of injustice in the world, and we carry our own collection of woundedness through the journey. And so we can't process everything in real time as it happens, especially when we're children. And so our consciousness has a way of storing those things and putting it into our unconscious. And therefore, we carry a lot of that with us as something behind the scene that's a bit of a shadow, that becomes a bit of a puppet that pulls the strings of our conscious choices. And part of our journey is to heal that, to be able to look within and see where that woundedness is, and to begin to heal and release. And And therefore, we call forth this inner awareness so that we can see clearly into ourselves and into other human beings and into life. And when we come to this place of our inner awareness, these four things happen. First of all, we develop an inner guidance. Inner guidance means that when we're quiet and when we breathe and when we access this inner awareness, we see things more clearly and we begin making choices from this source of awareness. I have at times called it the master within. You could call it the spirit. Of course, we could call it many things, but in this course, we're not here to necessarily label and certainly not to argue about names. But this source awareness is in every human being. And yet every human being does not access it. And so a lot of our life is lived looking outwardly and making choices based on who we think we are, what other people have taught us we are, what we believe about ourselves, what we think our friends want, what we think our parents want, what we think society wants, what we reflect on, we think will make us a good person. And what ends up is actually who we are and what we really want gets left behind. And you might say to some degree, we're living our life like by reacting to shadows on a wall. Those shadows are our fears about what everybody else wants or what life wants from us. And we're making decisions based on that. And you can see it almost everywhere you look, where, let's say, people are putting up their selfies and on their social media, they're reflecting who they think everyone wants them to be rather than just being who they are. And so at some point when we struggle with that, we have this option of looking within. And in looking within, we can say, well, then who am I? Who am I after all? Who's the one who's been aware of this whole journey? Who's the one that in pure awareness can see clearly? And you'll begin to notice that when you start following that guidance within, we could say go into your heart, but we have to make sure to know that that doesn't mean go into your emotions. As I say, emotions are good teachers, but they're not necessarily good leaders. So we certainly want to be conscious of our emotions. And we certainly want to listen to them, and we want to understand them, what they're telling us. And they also want to be heard. This is a part of life. You want to be able to observe your thoughts. This is a part of life. You want to be able to see your desires and tend to them. But the point being is if you just follow your desires, you'll end up going places that you don't want to go and probably already have. They're not good leaders. But this inner awareness can balance these things and can orchestrate these things so that it leads to more successful outcomes. This would be called an inner wisdom. Maybe you know somebody in your life who you think is wise, and if they are, then I would say they have access to that inner realm or dimension. But the wisest of them all would be the one who want to point you not to their wisdom that's living in them, but the wisdom that's living in you, so that you can actually awaken that wisdom and that inner guidance, and you can guide your life by this. Oh, and by the way, yes, you can. Also, from this awareness, we can develop healing, restoration, and transformation. Healing really is a return to wholeness. But because we've been wounded, because we face injustice, by the way, don't think there's these people who've had this perfect life and they haven't, some people have a worse story, some people have a better story. But I would submit to you that all have been wounded by injustice because injustice is part of the story of humanity. and everyone witnesses it from whatever point of life they enter into this reality. They see the injustices, and the one who's ignoring it is just as wounded in their own way. Think of it, to walk around acting like there is no injustice is a coping mechanism that shows how actually disconnected you are from yourself and reality. So, but if we can enter to this place of inner awareness and we can see these places where we've been hurt, which usually shows up and will show up today as we kind of explore this concept of forgiveness, we can see into our own heart and the places that we've been wounded, and we can show up for ourselves. We can begin to send love and light and healing to the wounded parts of ourselves. We can also show up at different points of time. For example, I've gone back in time and seen the boy inside of me who was wounded, and I returned to that place when he felt he was alone and isolated and was being hurt, and there was no one there to love and support him. And he was thinking that he'd never get out of this and that there was no hope in the future. And I've returned to him with this, my future self, and surrounded him with love and let him know, first of all, I love you. Second of all, you're seen and heard. And I'm in the future that you're going to inhabit. And we're going to wonderful places, because who you are is actually a wonderful being. But the point is that he didn't know that, because there was nothing in his outer world that was telling him that. And when I sent that love to that boy, something inside of me healed. Well, it was me. And when I came out of that, if you want to call it meditation, I believe that the spiritual realm isn't actually bound by time and space. So that's why it's once we enter it through pure awareness, we actually can go back in time, we can go forward in time, back in time to heal things that have happened in the past, and forward in time to visit and create what we'd like to create in the future. Of course, we still have to come back to here and now and live it out sequentially in time and space. But now we have a greater awareness. I have an awareness of where I've come from, what I've learned from the past, and I have a place where I can see into the future of what I would really like to see in my deepest heart. Not to make the world happy, not to make people who probably don't even care about me happy, but to actually share the happiness I have already in my inner being, and therefore create a life out of that. Within this place of awareness, this inner awareness that we're speaking of, is also what I call the magic wand of co-creation. Meaning that it's an energy field, and whenever you put an idea on it, it will begin getting busy creating it. Now, people will argue with me and they say, I can't create my reality. And my answer would be, yeah, that's the reality that you're creating right now. The one that says, I can't create that reality, and I have no power in my life, and dot, 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 dot. And that's how powerful it is. But only by entering it. And consciously, intentionally, as we were talking about, beginning to put images before it that you'd like to see, and then sustaining them over time, will you begin to realize this actually works. How do I know? That's the story of my life. I would say at one time life was living me, and I didn't like the life that life was living me. Then I decided, wait a minute, I want to live my life. And I began creating the life that I wanted to see. Now, that doesn't mean I have power over other people, doesn't mean I have power over world events and outer circumstances. But that's the point. I go back in, and it's my response to outer stimulation that is creating my life. So inner guidance, healing, what you can do within yourself by your own awareness, being there, loving yourself, showing up for yourself, and beginning to create. I call it creative power, beginning to create the life that you want to see. And to some degree, we're all in the process of doing that. But the point is that deeper access to this awareness actually magnifies the power. Think of it. Think of a person who's looking for love. Think of a person who's looking for peace. Think of a person who's looking for joy. And so in their co-creative model, they're trying to create a life that will provide all those things for them. But do you notice one thing? They're chasing something outside of themselves.
Be careful, because my friend's nickname ended up being Bigfoot. So just, careful what you say.
What was the last thought that I said before he lost me?
Someone seeking joy or seeking peace or seeking love.
Yeah, what I'm getting good at is watching. I'm looking, and then I go, wow, I must be really hitting the point. Everyone's like mesmerized. They're all just frozen. And then I look and I go, okay, here we go again. So think of the person who's seeking these things outside of themselves, not realizing it. It always ends up empty, because you can never actually hold outer events in place, because it's temporary. And so by seeking it, you're chasing it away. The pursuit of happiness is one of the main causes of people not being happy. I know this might be a revolutionary idea, but let's say that all these things already abide in you in the place of awareness, and they do. You have to go find out. Then you begin living a life where you're expressing these things. Now you're painting the picture of life out of something that you already have. It's not reliant on outer circumstances or other people, because it's based on something that is you. How can you ever lose you? How have you ever in your life lost your own awareness? You've been aware of this journey. Your being itself comes out of your awareness. So we're looking to the inner awareness and the inner awareness mastery course. And the last one is what I call a universal awakening. And perhaps it's horizontal in terms of this path. We begin by really connecting and following the guidance of our heart. We begin using that awareness to go on a healing journey, to see where are the disturbances inside of me, the places that I've been wounded, where I need to send love, send light. I call it heal and integrate those aspects of myself. Where is it that I can use this inner awareness to begin creating or co-creating a life for myself? But that doorway of awareness, consciousness, is actually connected to an all awareness, which is your source, an awareness that permeates nature, sometimes known as the Tao, an awareness that is the self, which is the cause of your own liberation and freedom. And those awarenesses are all part of each other. So human beings have tended to categorize these freedoms, and they've created religions as pathways to these places that exist inside us. And yet it's really based on who we actually are. We're the ones dividing it in our mind. Have you ever heard that saying, there's many roads that lead to Rome? Yeah. Okay, how about this? All roads lead to Rome. I'd rather say there's many roads, because probably some of the roads in some places of the world don't actually lead there. And then if you're an exactist, you're gonna write me and say, actually, by the way, asshole alert, anytime you say actually is probably, anyone else says it or you says it, just beware, an asshole comment is coming. Actually, but the point is, all roads lead to Rome. Like they say, all pathways lead to God. But all pathways are not Rome. Only Rome is Rome. Have you been there? When you're in Rome, why would you be worried about a pathway to Rome? In this case, Rome is a metaphor for home, and they happen to rhyme. Yes, okay, technically all pathways lead back to your own heart. But why are you on the pathway when your heart is right here? Why are you talking about pathways to Rome? Why not just go to Rome? And the problem is I did some exploration for this course earlier in the past 6 or 7 years. I went to Rome, and I also went outside of Rome, and I found out that some of the roads that lead to Rome, people build their houses on the roads outside of Rome that lead to Rome. And so to me, what that means is, why do you build your house on the pathway? You'll never get there. And often this is what a religion is. They build a fortress called a pathway, but they never actually enter the promise of the pathway, which is where it was supposed to lead you. Oh, by the way, to a greater love, a greater peace, a greater joy. And I'm saying that they live within you. Now, this may seem like some fantastical promises of this inner awareness mastery course. But first of all, I'm comfortable with it because I'm living it. I discovered the place inside of me, and this inner freedom and this inner access to what's commonly called wisdom, to my own source of healing and restoration, towards being able to create creative power, and towards this kind of universal freedom by which I don't have to have any pathway yet. In some way, I'm connected to all, but I'm not connected to believing in something outside of myself. Why would I believe, even quotes God, why would I believe in a God outside of myself if it's access from within my own heart? So for you, the one attending here, I would recommend these 3 things for this inner awareness mastery course. They are, number 1, take the course. Because you can't, it's like a person going, I'm thirsty or I'm curious about water. And I say, here, have a cup of water. And you say, no, but I don't believe in water. No, drink the water. You're probably dehydrated, which is why you have all these symptoms. So just drink the water. In this case, this is a span of a year, this course. In order to fully get the experience and the understanding and see the growth that will happen for you, you need to take the course, and at the end of the year, you can look and say, well, how was that? By the way, don't let this scare you, because you can still do whatever you want to do. But I'm just saying, to really understand this course and to get the full power and influence, you have to actually take it. I've used this method in my life. It's been quite effective. For example, early in my life, when I spent most of my time drinking and doing drugs, and I did every combination you possibly could do. I'm trying to think, I'm pretty sure I did. But then at a certain point, I said, I'm not going to get any higher. And even with all the combination of things I've done, there's not a new plateau. This is pretty much it. And I can just repeat this for the rest of my life, or I can see what life is like without drugs and alcohol. But that was too much for me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a 1-year trial. And after 1 year, because I can do a year. And after 1 year, if my life's not any better, I'll just go back to drinking and using drugs. Exactly the way I was before. And that first year, it was better. So I signed for the second year. When I did the second year, that was even better. So I signed for the third year. And then after that, I didn't have to sign up anymore, because I just kind of like, hey, this is really cool. Eventually came back and drank a little wine, smoked a little pot, did a little this, not too many other thises and that's, because they tend to be complicated. But the point being is, then I've made my decision now where I don't anymore. And that's because there's rewards on the other side of my decision not to do it. But the point being, if you try something for a year, you'll get a really good sample of what it is. So I would say, take the course. The second one is let go of belief and disbelief. Belief and disbelief will stand in the way of you actually getting the most out of this course. Have you noticed that what you know stands in the way of what you still yet have to learn? I know. Now, one of the things I said in the Kung Fu Dojo was, we don't say I know. And there's one student I had who would always raise their hand after I said that and said, I know. And I said, no, that's the one thing we don't say. And they go, I know. We don't say I know. I go, no, we don't say I know. They go, I know. So saying reminds me of this story of the disciple who went to a Kung Fu master and wanted to impress the master, so sat there and talking about everything that they knew. And so the master suddenly poured the tea in the disciple's cup and kept pouring until it ran all over the table. And finally, the disciple looked and said, Master, you're pouring the tea all over the table. You're wasting it. This is like really good tea. So how do you know? You never even tried it. And he said, that cup is like your mind. I can't pour anything in because it's already full. First, empty your cup of tea and try some of mine. And that's what my teacher would always say to me. Empty your cup. When you come down here, leave everything, all your troubles and all the things you think you know outside the door and come with a fresh mind ready to learn something new. And then he said, don't worry. If at the end you need your problems, pick them back up. And if you think all the things that you think you know are so valuable, then you can take them up again. And so I would ask during the course of this year and this course is that you will consider everything that's said. that you will try it on for size, so to speak, so that you can open new doors and vistas to your mind and heart. And at the end of the time, you can take back or put down. You may find some things very liberating that you hadn't considered before. I promise to only say things that are worth considering, even if up until this point you don't have any experience with it. I never really thought about it that way, or I always said, no, that's not for me. That's not my path. This is not. No. Lay all that down just during this time of this course and be willing to explore. We may open a new door to your heart. And the last one I would say is give it your best. Remember, giving your best is not giving your best to this course. It's not giving your best to me. It's not even giving your best to this collected community. It's giving your best to yourself. Every time you give your best in anything you choose to do, you receive the gift of that. So take the course. For the time of this course, suspend belief and disbelief, what you think you believe and what you think you don't believe. Be willing to see with new eyes. Have the, we call it beginner's mind. And the last one is give it your best. Because also everyone should be cautious. There's this thing that I'll call the saboteur. And often, of course, we have good reasons for making decisions to stop doing something. But the point being is that often there's a part of us that wants to sabotage what we're doing because we get afraid. And so we begin with forgiveness. And what I prompted you towards was who or what outside of you do you need to forgive in order to set yourself free to the next level of your self-expression in life? And the second one was, what do you need to be forgiven of yourself to set yourself free to the next level of your self-mastery, we might say?